And we are back with chapter 2 of my autobiography, my visual autobiography. And last time we took off, I had already left from being 5 years old in Monroe, Michigan, where we are here, to Toledo, Ohio, to live with my grandparents. As you can see. But what I didn't leave in the book last time, the chapter 1, was this right here, which is the Kingdom Hall Church, the first church that I was ever introduced to. Jehovah's Witness Church. See, it says JW right there, Jehovah's Witness Organization. So at 4, I was a Jehovah's Witness, and at 5, I began my new life. So let's get on back to where we were before, which is, where's the search? Is it Explore? Oh, Explore. No, it's not Explore. Was it Explore? I don't think it was Explore. Was it? World? No. Explore. Places. Oh, yeah, places. Duh, places. Anyway, back to the places. And how do I go fast? So many places I've been. I should have had this in order. I know. We only got 30 minutes of this. Let's see if we can go faster here. All right, Greenwood, Hospital, Michigan Avenue, East Front Street, Second Missionary Baptist Church. I think we're jumping a little ahead of ourselves here. Here, maybe. I think this is the school I went to. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we're not ready for that yet. Oh, it's right here. Right. Right. So, this is where my grandparents lived, on Old Farm Court in Toledo, Ohio. And this is where I decided to start interacting with people, although I didn't interact much when I was in school. But when I was here, I interacted with the kid next door. He had some He-Man toys that he would always let me play with, and he was like, "Oh, you could pick any toy you want." And I always picked Orko because I related toward Orko, the outcast, the magician outcast of the whole Masters of the Universe, the only one who was next to Gringer. I also play with Gringer because he was an outcast as well. It was weird too to me to this day that I noticed that I only played with the outcasts of that whole faction. And then there was a kid across the street over here where this red uh, car is, but that car wasn't there, obviously. This is the 2025 edition, but this was back in like, oh, I want to say the 80s. Probably 84. Let me see. I was born 78, 79, 80, 81. So it was about 82-ish, 82-ish. Anyway, that kid, he lived in this house, and his room was right there, and my room was right there, and that kid's room was probably in the back. I don't even know. We used to play in his basement, but we used to go to his house because the basement was cold and dark, and it had something in it, and we didn't like it. So we used to always get up out of there. And he'd be like, "Hey, you want to go to what's his face's house?" I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go." And we'd pack our things up, and we'd go to what's his face's house. And he had the Gray Skull Castle. He had not Princess Leia. What was her name? Oh, I don't even remember. The sorceress. He had the sorceress in the Gray Skull Castle. He had Skeletor and Skeletor's castle. He had Skeletor's Battle Cat, the Black Panther, and all of Skeletor's members. Matter of fact, he had He-Man, Tila, Orko, Gringer, Man at Arms, and the guy who had the many faces, and he had pretty much the sorceress, Gray Skull Castle, and all the bad guys with Skeletor. So these guys were like a perfect uh, match, or arch rivals, or whatever. But he used to let us play with anything that we wanted to play with. He used to let me play with anything that I wanted to play with. He used to let him play with anything he wanted to play with. For some odd reason, he always wanted to be the sorceress. Don't ask. I always wanted to be Orko and Gringer, and that kid always wanted to be He-Man. So somebody had to play as Skeletor, so he'd play as Skeletor as well. Whatever, whatever. Um, when I was here, we used to go to this house for Sunday school, but there was a Christian church directly on the opposite side of the street. Like, let's go to whoa. I believe it was up here somewhere. I think it was like right there. Okay. It was over there. We used to go to this church over here, which was a pretty big church. I know I'm seeing the wonkiness, but I am. Anyway, we used to go to this church over here. Don't care what it's called, but we used to have Sunday school there as well. Um, you know, we used to always go to her house first and get her. That's what it was. We used to go to their house to get them, pick them up, and then we come over here and go to Sunday school. So I was a Christian after I was Jehovah's Witness from age 5 on up to about 9. So that's that. Meanwhile, back here on Old Farm Court, I don't know if you saw that. Meanwhile, back on Old Farm Court, I spent so many good memories here. We had a basement that connected to the garage that had fully furnishing carpet and couches and TV down there. I remember when Thriller came out, Michael Jackson's Thriller came out. I was too scared to watch it because I already knew what horror was, apparently, at the age of 5. And when he was turning into a werewolf, I hid around the corner on the stairwell. So like this front door here has some stairs that go straight up to the first floor, I guess you could call it. The ground, the second floor, first floor. And then the first floor, there was no first floor. And then there was the stairs that went down right there to the basement floor. So I guess you could call that the first floor or some stuff. I don't know. And then it connected to the basement garage. And there was also like a bathroom back there with a washroom back there. And I used to see like um, Damon and some of my aunts, I guess, and uncle perform a little like musical type ordeal, dramatic plays for my grandparents while they be sitting on their couch right there watching my grandfather's old school TV, the ones that are heavy, and they open up and they got like the radio inside the CD player, not CD player, the disc turner. You put the disc in there and listen to music and stuff. And then, so that room right there was my sister's, but I stayed in that room with her. This room right here was Damon's room. He had his own room, obviously, because he was a boy. And she was a girl, but she was like 3 years older than me, and I was like 3 years younger than her. So at 5, she was like 7 or 6. She was like 8. And then, this 2 rooms right here was the living room. I don't know if you can see it better from right here. That was the living room right there. And then on the opposite side of the living room was the kitchen, and then the opposite side of Damon's room was the bathroom, and then the grandparents' room was kitty room to the bathroom, and they had the master bedroom, so it's like all of Damon's other side of the room and the bedroom that we had. This back here wasn't back there. You know what I'm saying? Um, let's exit up out of that right quick so we can show you that real quick. That right there is newly added. Newly added. Don't know where that came from. If I were to take it down to 1-1, you see it much better. But you don't see it much better because it's not rendered really. All that was added on. That shed was still there. That's the same shed that we had. It's just been renovated. Really weird. That fence right there, I remember my first death right there. The dog that stayed in that yard over there jumped over the fence while his chain was still attached to his neck and hung himself. And I came outside and I seen it. And then I started crying because we used to be able to like go over there and in the yard because my cousin Damon, he knew kids on this block, he knew kids on that block, he knew kids on the further block over there. And he used to be all over the place. And we'd be able to go with him over there to see them ride their bikes and jump ramps and stuff in the streets, because we were like Generation X and stuff like that. And we come over here and pet the dog, and the dog was all nice to us and stuff. I guess one day the dog missed me or something and wanted to come to me, and he jumped over the fence and hung himself because I was back here playing by myself. And then I started crying, and then they came out and they were like, "Oh, God." And then they took me in, and then they called them neighbors, and then they told them they got the dog removed. And then I was no longer allowed to play in the backyard. Even though the dog was gone, I was no longer allowed to play in the backyard. Really weird, really weird. Anyway, um, if I were to go over here though, I don't know why it just did all that to move me over here. This forest over here is the forest that we used to go to when it snowed, and there'd be hills and hills of snow, and we'd take our sleds and we'd sled down the hills. So one time when I was with my cousin Damon, I believe it was possibly that hill right there or this hill right here, we slid down the hill and ran smack dab into a tree, and I started crying there too, which was fun for me. It was always a fun time for me as a child, except for that one horror incident with Michael Jackson, and then the creek over there. There's a creek that runs right through here. I think it's over here. There it is, right here. So there was a creek that we used to come over here and look at the creek and say, right about right here, you can barely see it. There's a hole right there. And in that hole, I used to have dreams about walking across this bridge to go to school. Because sometimes we'd walk across this bridge to go to school. I think it was down the street down there. And I would let them walk past, and I would walk over here, and I'd start looking in that hole. And as I'm looking in the hole, octopus tentacle would come out and grab me by the foot and start dragging me to the hole, and then I'd wake up gasping for air, sweating in fear. But yeah, it was fun. It was still fun, regardless of the fact. It was always fun. Always a fun time for me. So you see it now, renovated with the actual. Wait, this isn't it. It's over here. With the actual foliage. So you can still see the hole right there. That hole just used to get me. I didn't understand it. It was just a big old hole, and it used to have a swirly thing that used to go down into. So I'm thinking it was really deeper than it actually was. I don't really know. But yeah. So, yeah. We used to come over here in the wintertime and sled down these hills and stuff. It might have even been this hill over here, because that's a pretty steep hill. And there's a tree right there. Anyway, yeah, so these were some good memories here. I remember me telling you how I was born with no hair on the top, a little patch of hair on the top, but no hair really on the top, and hair around my sides and my hair, and a fat stomach. And they used to call me old man because I looked like an old man when I first was born. Yeah, well, when I went out for Halloween, they dressed me as a midget from the Wizard of Oz. And I remember distinctly coming to this block over here to get candy from this house right here. And they asked us what we were all supposed to be. I don't remember what they were. I remember one of them was a robot made out of cardboard boxes. It was probably Damon. I think it was Damon. Cardboard boxes and foil. And my sister, I'm sure she was like a princess or something, or queen or some shit. And I was the midget from the Wizard of Oz, because we were hand-me-down kids. We had hand-me-down costumes. And they was like, "Oh, look at you. You look like an old man." Whatever. Give me the candy. I'll take it. Whatever. It's all good. So, anyway, moving right along, we happen to go. Wait. Oh, this is way too far. This is in the future. Oh, that's in the past. Here it is. So, me and my little sister, I don't know what school Damon went to. Oh, Damon went to the high school, I think, or the junior high school, the high school, whatever. And this school here is called Greenwood Elementary School. This is the school that we went to, me and my sister. This is the school that we went to and the school that we got kicked out of. I'm thinking we got kicked out of. My memories are a little fuzzy, but most of it I really do remember going the way it was. So, anyway, as you can see, it's a pretty big school. I went to kindergarten here. During kindergarten, I don't think we can get over there. I used to go out to recess and sit on these jungle gyms things by myself because I didn't trust nobody other than my family and my block. I was a block boy and a family boy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm in kindergarten. I knew how to do my name. I knew how to do 1 to 10. I knew how to paint with colors and like paint like stick figures and stick figure trees, houses, and trees and houses and grass and suns and birds. And I did I say I knew my ABCs, A to Z? Yeah. And I really did all my work by myself. I didn't cheat with nobody. They didn't even have the cubicles until my second year of kindergarten, whatever. Anyway, um, let me yeah, where we at? Okay, so yeah, but for recess, none of this was here. It was there, but it wasn't there. You know what I mean? Recess, I would literally come to like one of these things and just sit there by myself. I wouldn't play with the frolic with the other kids. I just sit there by myself and contemplate life. And when we had nap time in kindergarten, I would move my mat away from all the other mats and sleep by myself. I was traumatized with my uncle and aunt. You can obviously see that because of the last time story. I didn't want to talk about that. It'll be in the memoirs, it'll be in the book. Regardless of the fact, I didn't really trust nobody. So because I didn't trust nobody and because I was antisocial, they held me back in kindergarten. So I had to do a second year in kindergarten when I was supposed to be in first grade. They put me in kindergarten again for the second year. So, in the second time of kindergarten, I realized that maybe I should talk to the kids in the class. Maybe I should be more social. Maybe I should help people with their work and stuff. And through me trying to help kids with their classwork, I came back to class one day and they had cubicles where we couldn't help nobody. I'm just like, dude, you wanted me to be social and I'm helping people with their work. And now you want to put cubicles on us so we can't help each other with our work. Fine, whatever. For the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s, I now could count from 1 to 20. And the ABCs, I knew forward and backwards. And as far as my name, my sister was already in cursive and she was teaching me how to write my name in cursive. So I'm the only one in kindergarten write my name in cursive, which is exceptional. Anyway, she was, I want to say, in the fourth grade. No, she was in the third grade. She was in the fourth grade. She was in the third grade when I was in the kindergarten the first time. And the second time, she went to the fourth grade. And her classroom was always near the music class. The music class was right across the hall from the art department. Well, it wasn't the art department. It was like where they put all the props for the plays and stuff that they did in this school. And I used to go to music class and I used to look back through the doors at the art department, and there'd always be a reclining chair with a witch's hat on top of it and a broom draped across it. And I always thought there was a witch in it. So I never messed with that classroom, with that department. I used to always just look back like, there's a witch over there. Like I even knew what witches were. I don't know. I was in kindergarten. Anyway, there was one time where I had gotten in trouble and I had to go to my sister's class. So she was in the music class and sit near the music class doors, and I didn't want to because that art department was open. I could see the witch's door, and I think I peed myself because I had to go to the bathroom, and I was paralyzed because I couldn't move. I was in kindergarten, first grade, whatever. It's all good. Get past that. Now, there's this other part in time. See, the buses, I believe, they used to park right here, and we used to get out and walk up this way to go to the front of the school, whatnot. Anyway, there was a girl in my class that I liked named Kelly. A little white girl, blonde hair, blue eyes. And mind you, I'm not blonde or blue eyes or white, obviously, right? Anyway, um, I wanted to tell her that I had a crush on her, but I couldn't tell her that I had a crush on her because I was really shy at that time. I was shy most of my life, actually. That's besides the point. Anyway, I devised a plan to have my older sister, who was in the fourth grade, write a love letter to Kelly for me. And it consisted of 3 pages. And there was a yellow envelope, the one with the little prongs said open and close, you know. We put the letters in there. Somewhere in the letter I had where it was like, you should come over and spend a night at my house. And we all slept in the same bed, so you could sleep with us in the same bed. And if you didn't have any PJs, don't worry about it. My sister has plenty of PJs because she did. And when I used to pee in the bed, they used to give me some of her onesies to wear, her old onesies to wear. And I would wear those onesies. And I was like, don't worry if you don't have any PJs because you could share some with my sister. She has a lot of PJs. Anyway, needless to say, on the yellow short bus that we all drove in kindergarten because we were in kindergarten, kindergartens have a yellow short bus. I passed her the letter behind over the seat because she was in the seat behind mine. I passed her the letter over the seat, and somewhere along the lines of lunchtime and after lunchtime, I got called to the office. And my sister was already waiting in the office when I got there. And so the principal informed me that I had written an illicit letter to another girl in my class or whatever. And apparently that wasn't prohibited. So the principal asked me who wrote the letter, and I point to my sister, E. We got the names like that, EE, uh, KE, all that from the last one. That's how I describe them because they don't need their names to be out there, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I passed my letter. I passed the pointers to my sister, EE, and they looked at her and she said, he told me what to write. And apparently we both got expelled because we no longer went to that school anymore, and we had to move from wherever we were. There was no other elementary schools to go to, apparently, I guess, in the vicinity of where we lived. Let's see, from here I could see this place from where we lived, and I don't per se remember exactly where we are from here, but um, yeah, it was either this building or that building or those buildings. There was a lot of factories out here, mind you, a lot of good places to go to work. So I don't really exactly know per se where I was living at from here, but it was close by. Like, let me see. I can go back. Uh, Old Farm Court. Okay, so this is Old Farm Court. That's the big building I was thinking of. So the school is right there. Okay, so yeah. And this is how we used to walk to school sometimes. We would come down from there, down this road, cross here, cross the bridge, then we cross the street here, walk down this long street here, then walk down this street here. And this is only when my cousin Damon went to the school. When I went to kindergarten the second time, they put us on buses. And I don't remember where his high school was, but it was the Pink Panther High, and they used to have a Pink Panther paw prints in the street. I don't know if I even got that. Did I get that? No, I do not got that. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, when we moved from here, we moved all the way to live with my aunt and uncle in Yuma, Arizona. But where we are going right now is not the original street that we lived on, because I don't remember the original street that we lived on. Um, but from where they lived, we moved, I want to say right about here. Nope. Oh wait, this is the wrong canal bank. That's the park over there. We lived over here, right? Yes, we lived over here. So, moved to Yuma, Arizona, stayed in that apartment back there with my grandparents. Just barely see it. Low income housing, I guess. I don't know. Because this lady right here, before this place looked all raunchy and stuff, it was a really nice house. And there was a white lady who was the landlady, and she used to take care of the whole property. And there was Mexican people that lived like right there, and then we lived right there. And I had a friend. Oops, that went too far. I didn't even know I could do that. That would have saved a lot of trouble when I was trying to run the last time. Anyway, there's a person right there named Jacob that used to live there, and that was one of my friends. A person over here that used to live over here named Jamal Brunkfield. That was one of my friends. He has a little sister named Camille Brunkfield. She was kind of like our friend, but she was like more annoying than anything. He stayed with his grandmother. I don't remember her name. We called her Mrs. Brunkfield, and his cousin Casey Brumfield. They were all orphans, but they were living with their grandma because their parents didn't want them. Apparently, Casey apparently had been molested by whoever she was staying with before, so she definitely can stay there with them. This house was here. This house wasn't here. This house wasn't here. This was a big sand lot. A big sand lot. We used to play baseball here. There was palm trees here. They weren't really palm trees. They were like date trees that looked like palm trees. That house on the corner was where Ben and his little brother and sister stayed. Had a crush on his little sister. I was around the same age as her. And Ben was older. His little brother and his little sister were twins. I was the same age. I don't remember their names, but his name we used to make fun of because we used to call him Ben Gay. Then there was another girl that stayed in this house over here that I had another crush on. All these kids in this neighborhood were around the same age. And then that White House right there was where Marvin stayed, and we used to call him Marvin Gaye. Ben Gay and Marvin Gaye. He was living with his mom, who was racist, and his dad was in the military, and they were separated. And he used to stay in the backyard in a truck that they gave him from the military that had his bed and stuff in there. So it was really cool because we used to go over there and mess with his dad's truck when he was gone to the military. And everybody was in the military. My uncle was in the military, stuff like that. There was a girl that stayed. Wait, there was a girl that stayed. Whoa. There was a girl that stayed here named Lupe, and her uncles used to go fishing at the at the canal bank and get big old catfish, and they used to come back here and cut them up, and they used to clean them and cook them on the grill and have these big old soiree parties with cervezas, probably Colt 45, and we used to go up in there, and their mom and the dad and all the people was really kind to us. These people here we didn't talk to because they were snobbish. I had my best memories here. Um, so like these people here we didn't talk to because they were snobbish. They didn't have any kids. These two houses, they didn't have any kids. So there was kids there, kids here, kids there, no kids, not even an irrelevant place. Kids there, kids there, kids there, and kids there. And this is the only block that we really messed with as far as blocks, besides the next block over there and the block even further past there. And the I don't even remember too many blocks past anywhere. I remember over there there's a complex where we used to buy our Mexican candy, and there's a complex over there where me and Jamal used to flirt with some girls. As a matter of fact, I can take you there. So this is our block, 17th Street, whatever, whatever. Over here, I used to have friends. Um, my friends used to be Ariel, not Ariel. What's it? No, L'Oreal, and Abel, and then there was Lelania, Carlos, and Leia, and their parents. Over here is the complex where we used to flirt with the girls. The girl lived in this complex right here. We used to sneak over to her window and talk to her just before late hours before we had to go back to home base or whatnot. So let me give you a little briefing here. So yeah, that was Benjamin's house. This was that girl's house that I like. Uh oh, acting weird. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that. Wait, where are we at? Oh, we're backwards. Anyway, so I was saying, girl I used to flirt with, used to have a crush on. That was Marvin's house right there. And we used to do everything except for spend the night. We'd spend the night, but we couldn't go inside the house and spend the night because she was racist. So we had to sleep outside in the back where we made this makeshift sheetrock fort. We made a sheetrock fort that could fit 3 lawn chairs in it. And me, Jamal, and Marvin would sit in the fort, and we would cook on a grill barbecued dog food. It wasn't dog food. It was kibbles and bits and bits. I think it was cat food. And we used to eat it. We were like 9 to 11 age range, you know what I'm saying? We didn't really mind or nothing like that, blah, 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 you know. But like, yeah, let me give you a closer view. Um, where are we at again? Over here. Okay, so like, yeah, 1-1 scale. That's not 1-1 scale. 1-1 scale. Okay. So Marvin's room was back there. There was a back patio door back there. Our little fort was literally right here. That's Marvin's room right there, too. He used to sneak snacks out through his window and stuff. And his dad was in the military, and his dad's truck would park right here in this driveway right there. And there's a fence right here, chain link fence that you can't see because there's nowhere that we could see anything over here. You know what I'm saying? Um, that right there was behind Jamal Brunkfield's house. This house right here had a chicken coop behind there. They probably still do. We used to steal eggs from over there, and their fence right there, they had grapes on it that were growing. We used to steal grapes when they were ripe. This house didn't exist. This house didn't exist. This this oh this house didn't exist. This house didn't exist. There was a big sand lot out here. There was a broken down car right there, and we used to play baseball over here before the Sandlot movie was even a thing. We used to have our makeshift diamond, and the pitcher and I mean the pitcher's mount would be like right there, and the batter and the umpire would be right there, and everybody would be in the outfield. We had so many kids in this neighborhood that we could all get together and play baseball together. You know what I'm saying? And have teams or whatnot. There was actually a dog that lived in this neighborhood in this back part right here. That right there opened, but it always stayed closed because the dog was super mean, just like in the Sandlot. And we used to hit baseballs into that yard, and nobody ever wanted to go get them. We'd always have to find new baseballs. And this is why I relate to that movie, The Sandlot, because I'm sure everybody probably had a Sandlot, but was it like that where they had the dog right there in the middle, and over here they used to have a lot of junk in the yard? So we used to like walk on walls and stuff at that age. But we'd walk on the wall and we'd see the junk over here, and we'd peer into that yard and we'd see the dog, and we'd see the dog gnawing on our baseballs. Yeah. And so that was our life. This girl here, we used to literally, before these solar dishes were up here, we used to be on top of her shed, and we used to like literally uh be kissing on her. All of us be kissing on the same girl, different days. She was a flirt. Her mom was a flirt too. Her mom used to have a whole bunch of people over, and they used to drink and stuff, and we could see them drinking in the kitchen and stuff like that. We used to like go up near the kitchen window, and they'd be like, "Get away from the window!" Blah blah. This, that, and the third. There's a lot of issues in this whole place. Um, I want to say that that's the complex over there that used to sell the Mexican candy, because it looks like a complex, and it's kitty corner to where we used to walk to get Mexican candy. So I'm pretty sure that was the Mexican candy cartel. Uh, there was a neighborhood over here. Oh, snap. I didn't know I could do that. This house, was it this house? Yes, it was this house. This house right here, I used to get all the kids in the neighborhood to freaking come over here, and we'd use this guy's lawn equipment, and I would charge this guy $15 a head to let us mow his lawn and clip his clippers, trees and stuff. And he would let us, even though he had the equipment, but he was helping out the neighborhood kids. So, whatever. And then I would give them a portion of the cut, and I would keep all the rest of the money because I was a boss. A boss. I do believe that there were kids in this neighborhood that we used to come play with, because there was no kids in this neighborhood at all. I mean, from our recollection, any kids that would be like our age or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Uh, can I go there? Oh yeah, that's right. So over here was the Mexican house. This house right here in particular, they had, I think that's a pool, I'm not sure. But they had a fence right along right here, a bunch of trash back here always. They had a mattress back here. And we used to come over here to this house and watch wrestling because we didn't have cable, and everybody had to have watch wrestling somewhere. So we used to come over here and watch wrestling. And they had a mattress back here, and they had poles at the ends of the corners of the mattress with rope around it that their parents, I guess, made for them so they could do backyard wrestling. And we used to do backyard wrestling over here. It was awesome. It was totally awesome because we weren't really allowed to get near the canal banks at that age. But we still used to go over there. We used to come over to this house and do backyard wrestling. Um, since these people were like my family members right here, right? And they literally lived kitty corner to us. This is where my grandparents used to park their cars, and my cousin Dee Dee used to park his car. There was a fence right here. I don't know why there's no fence right there right now. But this is our little backyard, and that was the neighbor's little backyard. And this was all of Jacob's backyard. He had freaking dove coop right there that he said was possessed because doves would come up missing and dead and stuff in there, unalive, whatever. He had a dog too, but the dog didn't eat doves. Over here was a tree that had a big, humongous beehive in it. But it wasn't a beehive, it was a bumblebee hive. And I used to swat the bumblebees because they were docile, whatnot. But like, there was like a way that you could walk around the fence here and walk behind all this foliage and come to my neighbor's house over here, where just about right here they had a peacock coop, and we used to steal peacock eggs from them, and we used to steal chicken eggs from them, and we used to put them together in a bottle of beer that was empty, beer bottles, and we used to pee in them, and then shake them up, throw ants in them, and then we call it a potion, and then we try to trick other people into drinking it. Of course, nobody ever drank it. Had they drank it, they probably would have been more. They'd probably been sick as dogs. You know what I'm saying? So there was a peacock cage right here. This tree, I believe, was the freaking grapefruit tree. There's a grapefruit tree. This big bushel tree right here was a mulberry bush. The whole tree me and Abel used to climb up in Jamal, used to climb up in the tree, and we used to eat mulberries in the summertime. It's mostly summertime in Arizona anyway, so that really didn't matter because it was like usually mulberries year round most of the time. Black ones, blue ones, or purple ones, are the black ones, and the white ones, the red ones. They were red most of the year, and then ripe at the ripest, they were purple, black, and then sometimes we'd find white ones, and they'd be the sweetest ever. The sister Lori, not L'Oreal, yeah, L'Oreal, she used to be at the bottom of the tree asking if we'd pass down some berries because she was too scared to climb up the tree. And we'd just shake the tree, and the berries would fall, and she'd have a country country, I don't remember what it was called, country crock, whatever, butter, margarine bucket, and she'd catch the berries, and then she'd go in the house, and then she'd clean them off, and then she'd put sugar on them, and then she'd shake them up, and then they'd have freaking berries, and we'd eat the berries sugary, we'd eat the berries unsugary, whatever. Over here at Jacob's house, I thought it was a lot longer, but maybe it was this tree right here. He had a fig tree, and his father would get on us about freaking stealing the figs, but we'd still steal the figs anyway. And we freaking go up in there and chill in the tree and on the branches, eating the figs. You know what I'm saying? So we had figs, we had mulberries, we had grapefruits over there where those houses weren't. We had dates. Um, I'm sure there were other places that had oranges. As a matter of fact, I think they had an orange tree as well. But we used to eat lovely out here. The thing that we used to say to ourselves was if we were ever freaking homeless, we'd be all right because there were so many trees out here that we could freaking eat off of that we'd be all right. You know what I'm saying? It was lovely. It was great. He still has his boat. We used to play in this boat. We used to play boat like we were on a boat. That's crazy. That's crazy. That boat was been there. I think it was actually right there. But oh yeah, that's right. There was a tree right here that was in Jacob's yard, but since the fence was right here, it was toppling over and all the fruit was literally dropping in my granddad's backyard, our backyard. And my granddad and my Jacob's father had beef because my freaking my granddad used to see me come back here and eat the pomegranates all the time because pomegranates are the fruit of the gods. And because of that, his dad wanted to cut down the tree. And my granddad was like, "You ain't cutting down this tree. The fruit literally drops in our yard. It topples over into our yard. This is as much our tree as it is your tree." And still, he wanted to cut it down. So one day, he was out here trying to cut down the tree without my grandparents' permission and supervision or whatever. And I seen him out here, and I came out here and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Cutting down the tree." And I was like, "Can I help?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can help," because he was spiteful as fuck. And he was like, "Hold on a second, let me go get you a pair of gloves." And he went in the house to get me a pair of gloves. And me being 11, I didn't really listen to nobody. I was like, "I don't need no gloves." And I got to plug the headset up real quick. All good. There we go. And so I take the tree with my hand and the saw with my hand, and it was one of those saws that you open like that with jagged edges on it and stuff. And I start sawing, shishu, 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 and right through my finger where this ring is, that saw went straight to the bone. And I just looked at it like, uh-oh, maybe I should have waited for the gloves. And then it started to bleed, and then I felt the pain, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I ran into the house, jumped the fence, ran into the house. My grandma was like, "What happened, boy?" And I was like, "I cut my finger with a saw." And she wrapped it up really good. And then she poured freaking actually she didn't wrap it up really good. She cleaned it off and she poured this freaking rubbing alcohol that had banana peels in it on it, which made it sting even worse. And then she wrapped it up really good. And then I was good. And like maybe a week later or so, I took it off and it was green. And then I babied it with you know, the peroxide and the rubbing alcohol. Now I just have like a scar there that shows that I'm immortal and I will never die. Anyway, let me see how much time we got. Oh, look at that. I don't know. The time had already stopped and it didn't go off. I couldn't hear it. So we've already been past that time already. So next time I will show you where I went to school, elementary school, and then we'll probably do chapter 3 with that. But this has been chapter 2 of my life being touched by God. And so far, so good. You know, living a great life. You know what I'm saying? 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 Woo! I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, snap. It worked. Okay, so let me come over here so I can look at this place from the backside. That was my address right there. 160 17th Street. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Oh, no, that's 160. What are we? That's 160. What are we? I don't even know. I don't know. Anyway, it's still 17th Street, regardless of the fact. See, 17th. North 17th Ave. Okay, North 17th Ave, whatever. North 17th Ave. Wow, that's crazy. I lived near 18th Ave and I didn't even know it. When I was living in Newark, New Jersey, I lived on 18th Ave and I knew it. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Crazy. Anyway, so it's been real. If you like that, have any questions about that, please leave that in the comments below. And we'll get into this next chapter the next time I do it. I already seen 5 people viewed my last chapter. Hopefully more will view it. You know, it's out there for the masses to see. And let's just say, at this time, I was 11, and I'm 47 now. So this book is going to be long. You know what I'm saying? Long like my last name. You get me? Anyway, it's me to you signing off right now. And we'll see you in the next one. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when I post the next book or the next video. The story only gets more interesting. Trust me. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, let me tell you. Anyway, bye for now. Or as they say in Arizona, adios, amigos.